Hello and welcome to another Blues focused match preview where in our last game we beat Stevenage 2-1, our final home league midweek game of the season, and it was Paik Sung-ho that scored the goal in the second half, his first goal of the season, and in the first half the goal was scored by Kieran Dow from the penalty spot, and it was nice moments for both of them, with Kieran Dow now seemingly being put on penalty duty and Paik Sung-ho scoring his first goal of the season as well. And Alphonse Samsted won the penalty, which Dow converted, and that was a nice moment for him in his first league start of the season. And you heard Samsted speak after the game saying that, perhaps he would have expected more minutes, but he's willing to do what it takes to be a good player for the squad. And I think a lot of Blues fans are thinking that, Samsted becoming a permanent transfer might not be the wisest thing, because I know it's included in his clause in 20 that the deal is going to become permanent. But Craig Gardner spoke about it, and also Chris Davies spoke about it, recruitment where character is key. That's a quote that Craig Gardner used. And I really feel like those principles are key for Alphonse Samsted. And you saw earlier on this season that Taylor Gardner-Hickman got signed up on a permanent deal, and you can see sort of how he plays in different positions and really does put the team first. And I really do get that impression from Samsted as well. He comes across really well in interviews after the game. Seems like a nice guy. So if he joins the team permanently, I'll be happy with that to provide some competition with Ethan Laird. But next up for us is Northampton Town, a team that have actually hit a bit of form recently, as they have avoided defeat in quite a lot of the games recently. Only lost 2 of their last 8 league games, and that has seen them draw ever closer and closer to safety in League One, because when John Brady departed and Kevin Nolan joined, they were in a bit of relegation trouble, but now they've put themselves in a comfortable position away from those relegation places, and it may only take 3 or 4 wins for Northampton to be mathematically safe in League One. So it's going to be a big game for them. And obviously the last time we played them at St Andrews, it was a 1-1 draw with Mitch Pinnock scoring in the 96th minute to get a point for Northampton. And that was a game where I feel like we deserved to win the game, didn't we? And it was an unfortunate error from Dion Sanderson. I think that was his last league appearance before he went out on loan to Blackburn. So an unfortunate moment for Sanderson, but I really feel like from November to now, we're a different outfit, and I think the same can also be said for Northampton. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this game goes at Sixfields. But before the game, we spoke to Charles from It's All Cobblers to me to get the lowdown on Northampton in this new style that we are trying out. And thank you so much for the feedback that we got from that Stevenage video with Matt, because Matt is someone that I knew from years and years ago, and it's fantastic to be able to do a preview of him and you guys enjoy it too. So thank you so much for the feedback for that video. As for this video and as for this game, I'm going to predict a 3-1 victory for Birmingham on the road. I feel like getting that momentum before the cup final is going to be really crucial, and now we are 14 points clear at the top of League One, so going really fantastically at the moment. Going to say a 3-1 victory, get some goals, and hopefully it'll be a really good away day for those fans travelling to Northampton. But here's Charles with the Northampton information. So, Charles, from when the last time we spoke was round about the November time, wasn't it? When we were preparing to face you at St Andrews, and it was a bit doom and gloom with the Northampton fans coming off the back of that Kettering result. But I feel like the mood around the place now has got to be different, with Kevin Nolan as the manager and only 2 losses in your last 8 games. So the mood from then to now, how's it all changed at Northampton?
Yeah, it's definitely different now to what it was back then. That Kettering defeat was probably the lowest point of the season, really. I mean, we didn't exactly set the world alight over Christmas either, but I think that FA Cup defeat was just appalling, to be honest with you. But yeah, Kevin Nolan's come in. He's slowly managed to turn the tide around. He's made us more defensively strong, and we've been putting in some really decent Northampton-esque performances where we've been, hard to beat, battling really hard in every single game, and it's just the kind of team that I suppose we've come to expect to, enjoy watching as Northampton Town fans, really. So, yeah, the next sort of stage in it, and Kevin Nolan has talked about it himself. When he first came in, he sort of talked about the fact that the first thing to do was to just make us difficult to beat and ensure that we weren't going to go out there and get thumped like we had been doing over Christmas so much. And then we could start implementing the more, nice side of the game, if you like, in terms of, attacking and looking good. We're not by any means the finished article, and we won't be this season at all. But we are, picking up results. We've had some decent wins in the last, few weeks, and yeah, we're much more happy now, I would say, than we were back when we last spoke.
And I think round about that time, I suppose there was a bit of uncertainty as to what was going to happen with Northampton's season, whether you get sucked into that relegation fight. But as of now, you're 8 points clear of Burton, 19th place in the league. So, in terms of the aims from now until the end of the season, how many wins do you reckon it would take from now till the end of the season to make you safe?
I think we probably need three out of our remaining games. Six of those, I think, I'm right in saying, are at home as well. So we've got that kind of advantage, if you like, at least on paper, when you look at the fixtures and what's coming up. Obviously, there's some tough ones in there, including this Saturday, which is probably the hardest one of the lot. But we also have to play a number of the teams that are below us in the table as well. So after we faced you on Saturday, we've got a trip to Cambridge coming up. We've got Peterborough away to play, Shrewsbury at home, and Crawley at home, Crawley away. So there's a good number of teams in there who are below us in the table. You would maybe look at it and say, once we've got you out of the way, we've got a fairly favourable run in. Certainly, you're the last team, I think, that we've got to play that are, I know, Charlton as well, that are up there in the mix at the moment. But everybody else is kind of mid-table and probably not looking, by the time we get to play them at least, probably not looking at doing much more than, yeah, just consolidating a league position or fighting against relegation. So on paper, at least, it looks like a favourable run in. I'm not going to say easy. I'm not that much of an idiot. Um, I would say that realistically now, I keep looking at 14th place. That's where we finished in League One last season. That would be really, really good if we could get there. We're only 3 points off of it at the moment. I think it's Rotherham that are sit there at the moment in time. And so therefore they are catchable. But, where we are in the league, we're 19th at the moment. So there's a fair few clubs in between us that we'd need to obviously get favourable results going against them for us to then go up and take that 14th place. I'd love to finish there. Realistically, I will be happy as long as we finish above 21st. Simple as that, really, for us now.
And you said that Birmingham is the hardest game you've got left, from now until the end of the season. But obviously, that game in November, you did manage to come away from St Andrews with a point, and only, three teams have done that this season, avoid defeat. So it's a really impressive feat for Northampton to be able to come to St Andrews and get the result that you did, with Mitch Pennant getting that goal literally in the last second of the
Mm.
game. And I know that Northampton had quite a lot of players out injured for that game as well. So I suppose that was the final game of, I suppose, John Brady's reign, where you could look back at it and go, that's what we were about at that time. So in terms of linking back to what I said, like the mood of the place, then how do you remember that game in November?
Uh, I mean, look, we went to St Andrews expecting, I think, a defeat, but hopeful. We're always hopeful of going in and getting a result. Otherwise, what's the point in being a football fan, right? To get a draw was brilliant, especially in the manner that we did it as well. I always love it when we rattle another club's, fans by going in there and doing that. I can't remember who it was that I saw the other week on Twitter, a Birmingham fan who said something like, "Oh, look, there's another team that have turned up, parked the bus, and then gone home with a 1-0 defeat." And look, you are going through the season and getting the wins, right? And they're all looking comfortable. I mean, I don't know whether you've really had to get out of second gear for the majority of these games that you've played so far. I like to sort of look at it and go, on that particular day, you still had a lot of chances. And the thing is that if you'd have had your shooting boots on, you'd have won it comfortably, right? But you didn't. And that has to be down in part to us and how we played on the day as well. And I really did think that we came away with a deserved point from that game in the end. I know that Birmingham fans will look at that and go, we should have won the game, and you should have done. But I feel like the way that we played and managed to restrict you as much as possible to only that one goal. I was worried when you scored it that that was it. The floodgates were going to open, but it didn't. We stood steady and held on, and then right at the death, as you say, Mitch Pinnock just has a wonderful strike that gets past you and breaches your defence. It was one of those goals, isn't it? When you look back and you just go, it's not great defending. Essentially, Neo Dobson and Martin Waghorn have just basically got in the way and forced an error to make it fall to Mitch, who's hit it nice and sweetly. So yeah, best kind of goals for me, that kind of thing to happen, especially at the time of the game when it does. I mean, you could see us all in the away end, couldn't you? We treated that as a bit of a win. That's how it felt, and I'm sure it probably felt a bit like a defeat to you guys in the home stands, because that's how football works. If you throw away a lead right at the death with almost the last kick of the game, it will feel like a defeat, even though it's not. Whereas for us, it felt like a huge, huge win. And I think, like you say, we're only one of three teams to have managed to have taken any points off you at St Andrews this season. It shows the character that we had in the squad, and we've still got that kind of character. I think you're right. It was probably the last game of John Brady's tenure that you can really look at it and say that was John Brady's Northampton Town. After then, it just, for whatever reason, just didn't work. And, he eventually fell on his own sword and walked away. But the way that we're playing now isn't dissimilar to what you'll have seen us play, at St Andrews back in November. But I think there's a little bit more freedom in our play now to what we had before. We are, still quite strong defensively. We've still got some injuries, although the majority of those that have caused us to be without so many players this season, a lot of them are now coming back, which is good to see, but they're not all, fully match fit. So as an example, I know he won't play on Saturday, but Tyler Roberts has been injured since around about the Christmas sort of schedule of games. He's he started for the first time on Saturday just gone and got the opening goal for us, which was his first goal for us this season. He made an appearance off the bench previously in the last game, but he's not necessarily going to be up to match fitness yet. And that's the same with a lot of the players in the squad. We're tending to sort of make substitutions at around about the 70th, 80th minute mark, which aren't, they're not designed. I go back to the Stockport game midweek a couple of weeks ago at around about 65 minutes, might have even been earlier than that. Stockport made 4 subs in one outing, all of them designed to come on and change the game from their perspective in a positive. We were 1-0 up at the time, and these 4 players came on and made a real difference to how Stockport performed. Our subs that day were made to conserve, the fitness of players that we had on the pitch, because they were returning from injury. We didn't want to push them to do a full 90 minutes, and we were bringing on players who are also working their way back from being injured. So the difference in that was just palpable. You could see it, and Stockport went on and grabbed an equaliser, which was gutting for us. But that's where we're at the moment, is that we're still having to blood players back in to full match fitness. So therefore, we're not necessarily having the impact substitutions that we would love to be able to bring on at some point to change the game or to try and do something slightly different. We're more or less just making like for likes and almost hoping that we've still got the legs to keep going and to keep defending for that last sort of 10 or 15, 20-minute period of the game.
Because you said earlier there about like the freedom that the players have now, and also you've got players returning. And going back to Tyler Roberts, it's a really curious case at Birmingham, because last season he joined and there was quite a bit of expectation around him, and kind of similar to Northampton, he had picked up injuries at Blues, and Tony Mowbray did play him quite a bit, but then I think there was reoccurring injuries that popped up, and then Gary Rowett played him for a couple games in our running, but didn't really get a whole lot of minutes in the team, not as many as people thought that he would. So now that he's at Northampton, people are thinking like, oh, he's going to get regular game time, and hopefully he can show what he's about. And with him being 26 years old now, I really feel like time is ticking for him to really make that impact. So in terms of now to the end of the season, because I've seen that also like this season, Tyler Roberts played in like two or three different positions. What position do you think he's best at on the pitch?
Personally, I think he works best as being the number 10 and working behind the striker as the main focal. Well, the striker being the main focal point and him being the link up between the two. He had to play an awful lot of games as our lead striker, which isn't his position. He's not a target man. He's not a quick pacey number 9 or anything like that. And when I say he struggled, he didn't struggle. It's just not his position, right? And so therefore he wasn't making the impact that he would have wanted to have made, and wasn't what we wanted to see out of him. And I think it's unfair how some fans, you know, not that they treated him badly, but that they looked at him and just went, well, he's done nothing. There was a thread on one of our message boards in the lead up to Saturday's game, where people were saying, well, Tyler Roberts, he's not done anything this season. Why is everybody getting excited about him? And then he popped up and scored the opening goal on Saturday. So I hope that with that off his back, that he can go on and have a really good run. But the fact is that he was able to play in his preferred position, or what I think is a preferred position, behind the lead striker, and therefore work off him. He was brilliant against Leyton Orient before he went off. To conserve his legs. Didn't want to play him for a full 90 minutes. He was so disappointed to come off as well, which I think we all as football fans like to see, players wanting to stay on the pitch and not wanting to go and have a sit down and, take it easy while their teammates are still out there trying to win the game. I think that he will be really strong towards the end of this season. And as you say, he's got to keep the injuries off. He had a fantastic run of games all the way up till Christmas, and then he just picked up an injury that we didn't really know. I still don't know what it was, why it took so long for him to come back, but it was a real shame, really. I actually thought at the time, because of the timing of when the injury happened, I thought that maybe you guys were going to recall him to send him somewhere else. Not that he was necessarily going to go back into your team, but I was waiting for that announcement to be made, and it never came, which I'm really pleased about. So I'm looking forward to, if he can play like he did against Leyton Orient on Saturday for the run-in for the rest of these games, and hit the back of the net a few more times, have some other goal involvements, then we've got a fantastic player on our hands. But we've known that since the beginning, that his quality is really, really good. I think he's been unfortunate in respect to the fact that he's had to play out a position for so many games this season through no fault of his own, and then he picked up that injury. So he's been a class act in my opinion for us. Just needed to probably get off the mark a bit earlier for his own self-belief and his own confidence. But now he's done that. Let's see how far he can go.
Because I think a lot of Blues fans are expecting there to be a couple of transfers in the same position as Williamson, who is like a number 10. So if Robertson from now till the end of the season picks up some form, scores some goals, then he could potentially force his way back in the team. So time will tell with that. And in terms of what Northampton have been doing really well in the last few games, is there anything in particular that you think you guys can implement for this game on Saturday? Because obviously it all matters about the opposition and what their skill sets are. So from what you've done well, is anything you could carry on doing for this game, or do you think there'll be quite a few changes tactically?
It's a really difficult one to sort of say this. I think the one noticeable thing that won't change is our work rate off the ball and the way that we set up in shape. That's been our most impressive attribute, I think, from the last few weeks. We're not able to really go and score loads and loads of goals. There was a little time period up until just this game last weekend just gone, where we essentially were only able to score once, if at all, for what felt like ages. It probably wasn't that long in the grand scheme of things, but it really did feel like we're never more than one goal in us in a particular game. I would expect us to probably be better out of possession than we are in. It's my bugbear is that we seem to rush our passes an awful lot. Therefore, we make a lot of mistakes that end up with the ball being given away fairly cheaply. We could use the ball better. Kevin Nolan has said that himself. But off the ball, I think we're superb. You know, we are a team that really works for each other. There is a great work ethic between them and a great, yeah, just camaraderie between all the players, and they're all fighting for each other. They're all working really, really hard, and I would expect that to continue. I don't think that you'll come off the pitch on Saturday evening thinking, well, that was easy. I think that regardless of what the scoreline is, your players will be coming off going, oh, I've been in a game there. I'm absolutely shattered.
And in terms of a score prediction, what are you going to say, Charles?
So hard. Like we're not normally with these kind of things, I will go brave and I'll be a bit, gee, I'll go definite Cobblers win and I'll make it a stupidly high number. Um, I I would love obviously a win. Obviously, I would love one. If we were to do it, it would be a 1-0 and it would be very smash and grab. I won't rule us out doing that. I think it'll be the same as the first fixture. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. There's something about it that makes me think we will be right up for this game. And I think if we come out the way that we have been doing in the last few games, where we start games really well on the attack, for ages this season, I was sort of saying we're doing really well in those opening stages, those first 10 or 15 minutes. We're always on top, but we're not getting the breakthrough. We're not getting the reward for our really good play. Lately, we have been starting to convert that great opening into at least a goal. So if we can do that, I will be over the moon. I think it'll be really, really good, and then we'll know that we're in a game. But yeah, I can't see you not scoring. That's the thing, is that I can't see you coming away with us having a clean sheet. It's probably not going to happen. So I'll go 1-1.
1-1. I like it when fans are optimistic when they come on the channel, because I think so often, like we've had it this season, where there've been, like a few doom and gloom where it's like 2-0 Birmingham, 3-0 Birmingham. And from our last game, the Stevenage game, we had, Matt Farley on, who was like really enthusiastic about Stevenage. It was nice to see, that enthusiasm about someone's team. So yeah, the fact you're predicting another draw, Reading drew against us twice this season. So I guess in Northampton's case, they'll look at that and go, why can't we, especially at your own patch as well. So good luck for the rest of the season, Charles. And in terms of what's happening in your channel for the future and for this game, I know I'm appearing on your channel tomorrow, but besides that, what's happening with your channel in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we essentially we release episodes on every Monday. On a Wednesday, if we've had a midweek game, and then on a Friday we have our preview show. We've got loads of stuff that are just ideas at the moment for the off season, but I'm sure we'll have some former Cobblers legends appearing, and some of those might be former Blue Noses looking at the history of our two playing squads. So, yeah, there might be some interest there for some Birmingham fans as well. But yeah, we look forward to the end of the season. We're enjoying everything. We have our award show as the last big episode of the season, called the Bayos, named after the beast that is Bayo Akinfenwa, and that's always a good one to tune in. There's always an opposition fan of the year as well, Sam. So you'll be in the
Please,
running for
please.
that, my friend.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. But no, thank you so much for your time, Charles. And we'll have our usual stuff coming out around the game, Tommy's vlog and match reaction, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, really looking forward to this fixture. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for the video, and keep right on.